The spoon slipped from my fingers and clattered against the tile, gravy splashing across my apron like a battle scar. From the dining room came laughter and clinking glasses. They had already started dinner without me. Then my mother's voice rang out, sharp and casual. "Sloan, grab some ice for Evan's drink." My chest tightened. For the first time in my life, I said it. No. And silence swallowed the room. My name is Sloan Carter. I'm 33, and I live in Tampa Bay. By day, I'm an account strategist, the dependable one who keeps projects from falling apart. At home, though, my role has been fixed since childhood. The holiday cook, the invisible backbone, the one who makes everything perfect, while my younger brother, Evan, takes the credit. For decades, I filled their glasses, set their tables, and smiled through exhaustion. Every family photo proves it. Evan glowing in the middle, me blurred in the background with a tray in my hands. I thought love meant service. I thought belonging meant silence. But that night, when I refused to fetch ice, I felt something crack open. 33 years of obedience shattered in a single word. Some people learn the power of no when they're kids. I didn't. I waited far too long. Still, in that moment, I understood. No doesn't break you, it frees you. The rest of the evening moved on like nothing happened. Mom laughed too loudly. Dad poured Evan more wine, and Evan slid back into his story about a client golf game. They smoothed over my rebellion as though it hadn't happened, but I knew it had. Later, in the quiet kitchen, I opened Mom's tablet. Her Facebook post glared at me. Evan's curated holiday menu. Photo after photo showed him at the center of every celebration. My face barely appeared, just an elbow, a blurred profile. Always in motion, never the star. 30 years of evidence that I was invisible in my own family. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Aunt Lila appeared. "If you stop serving, the whole system falls apart." I stared at the printed Christmas list on the counter. Every dish, from stuffing to cranberry relish, had my name beside it. My pulse slowed, my hands steadied. I picked up my phone, snapped a picture of the list, and typed 2 words beneath it. End date. If this story hits home, like, share, subscribe, so more people trapped in holiday labor find their way out. I wish someone had told me years ago that I wasn't the only one living in the background of my own family. 3 days after Thanksgiving, my phone buzzed with the familiar chime of our family group chat. Mom's message appeared at the top, cheerful emojis sprinkled between her words. "Exciting news! We'll be hosting Christmas at Evan's new house on Clearwater Beach." I stared at the screen, the knot in my stomach tightening. Then came the attachment. It was a PDF file. I opened it, already knowing what I'd find. A full menu, neatly laid out, each dish assigned to one name. Mine, stuffing, Sloan. Cranberry relish, Sloan. Chocolate pecan pie, Sloan. Even the tiny puff pastry appetizers. Every box carried the same word, like my identity had been reduced to 3 letters. Cook, servant, background. Before I could even react, another notification popped up. This one wasn't from Mom. It was from my cousin, who clearly hadn't meant to send it to the entire thread. It was a photo of the whiteboard in my mother's kitchen. Written in thick black marker were the words, "Sloan handles everything." Next to it, a doodle of a turkey and a lopsided smiley face. The caption under the photo read, "Holiday machine engaged." My heart pounded. Holiday machine. That's what I was to them. A piece of equipment programmed to produce meals and memories for everyone else. Not a daughter, not a sister, just the machine that kept the gears turning. I scrolled through the responses. Dad sent a thumbs up. Aunt Sarah added clapping emojis. Evan chimed in with a laughing face and the words, "Thanks, sis. Couldn't do it without you." The irony nearly choked me. He had never done it with me. He had never lifted a roasting pan, chopped onions, or scrubbed the grease off the stove at midnight. He just showed up and took the credit, while I faded into the wallpaper. I typed out 3 different responses and deleted each one. Anger, sarcasm, resignation. None of it seemed enough. I set my phone down and pressed the heel of my hand against my forehead, trying to stop the buzzing in my skull. And that's when the thought crept in, the one I had been avoiding for years. Maybe they will only realize my worth when I disappear. The words echoed like a dare. If I walked away, if I stopped cooking, stopped cleaning, stopped showing up, what would happen? Would they finally notice? Or would they simply replace me with catering and never mention my name again? I picked up my phone again, scrolling back to the photo of the whiteboard with my name scrawled across it. The sight made my skin crawl, but it also steadied my resolve. My thumb hovered over the screen, pressing lightly against the small text in the corner. Leave conversation. The letters glowed back at me. A single tap away from silence. A single tap away from breaking the pattern forever. I held my breath. My thumb pressed harder. For a moment, I thought I might do it. Then I stopped. Monday morning, the office felt colder than usual. Or maybe it was just me. I sat at my desk, the glow of my monitor reflecting off a stack of half-finished reports. My boss stopped by, arms folded. "Sloan, that Henderson pitch, it was due Friday." His disappointment was heavier than anger. I swallowed, my mind still stuck in the family group chat from the weekend. "I'll have it to you by 3, I said quickly, minimizing the Christmas menu Mom had sent me. He nodded, but the weight of his silence lingered after he walked away. By noon, my head throbbed. I hadn't slept more than 4 hours in days. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that whiteboard photo. Sloan handles everything. The words played on a loop, branding themselves into my brain. At 2 o'clock, my phone buzzed. Another message from Mom. "Don't forget to come early on Christmas Eve. Evan has a breakfast with clients. He needs the house ready before noon." My hands trembled on the keyboard. I had deadlines, a career, a life beyond the kitchen. But none of that mattered to them. Evan's clients came first. Evan's schedule was sacred. I was just the invisible backup plan. I pushed away from my desk, pacing the narrow aisle. Jessica from accounting leaned over the divider. "Hey, you okay?" "Family stuff," I muttered. She rolled her eyes knowingly. "Let me guess. They expect you to cook everything again?" I gave a weak smile. "How did you know?" "Because we all have an Evan," she said. "Tell me, if he can't cook, why can't your mom step in? She's perfectly capable of roasting a turkey, right?" Her words hit me harder than I expected. Of course Mom could cook. She just chose not to. She had trained me into the role and never looked back. Even now, with Evan's brand new house, she wasn't planning to step into the kitchen herself. She was planning for me to. Jessica's comment lingered long after she walked away. By 5 o'clock, I had finished the pitch and sent it early, but my head still pounded. On the drive home, I considered turning my phone off completely. But when I walked into my apartment, the notifications were waiting. Bank alerts. My stomach dropped as I read them. Several charges for groceries, specialty meats, wine, hundreds of dollars, all processed under an old family account that still had my debit card attached. I hadn't used that card in months. Somehow, Mom had kept it on file. My chest burned as I called the bank. After a long hold, the agent confirmed it. The purchases had been made on my account for holiday prep. My own family had used my money to stock Evan's fridge. I felt sick. "I need to dispute every single charge," I said, gripping the phone until my knuckles turned white. "Yes, ma'am. We'll put a temporary hold on the funds until we investigate," the agent replied. Relief and fury surged through me at once. If they thought I'd quietly bankroll their holiday feast, they were wrong. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, scrolling through the receipts the bank had sent. Every item screamed entitlement: imported cheeses, organic cranberries, a free-range turkey that cost more than my electric bill. They didn't just assume I'd cook. They assumed I'd pay for it, too. I snapped photos of each receipt, one by one, saving them in a folder titled Evidence. My phone buzzed again. Another group chat notification. Evan this time. Thanks for covering the grocery run, sis. You're the best. Mom says don't be late on Christmas Eve. The casual arrogance of his words made my vision blur. He had no idea I'd already pulled the rug out from under them, because tomorrow morning, when the store tried to finalize payment for the catering order Evan placed under my card, they'd find nothing but a cancellation notice. I leaned back, exhaling slowly. For once, they would have to figure it out without me. My cursor hovered over the email draft I had started to Mom and Evan, ready to attach the disputed charges and set the record straight. My finger twitched on the mouse. Should I hit send? I remember the smell of peppermint mocha in the Sunflower Café that morning. Holiday music trickled from the speakers, cheerful and hollow, like background noise in someone else's life. My mother sat across from me, hands wrapped around her mug, though she hadn't taken a single sip. Between us on the table lay her weapon of choice, the family photo album, worn leather edges, pages filled with decades of curated proof that Evan was the golden son. She opened it with the delicacy of a surgeon, flipping to Easter, then Christmas, then Thanksgiving. Every page was the same. Evan front and center, my parents glowing beside him, relatives leaning in close, and me, always blurred at the edges, carrying a tray of food, setting another plate, vanishing into the background. Your brother needs you, she said softly, tracing her finger along Evan's kindergarten graduation photo. This isn't just about dinner, Sloan. It's about family. I sat back, the weight of years pressing against my chest. Family. The word had been their shield, their justification, their excuse for everything they demanded. But that day, I didn't flinch. I reached into my bag and pulled out my own folder. I brought something too, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I slid a stack of papers across the table. Handwritten notes, receipts, and a list meticulously kept. 31 family gatherings where I cooked every dish. I began, my voice rising like the opening line of a speech. 4 birthdays of mine rescheduled because they conflicted with Evan's plans. Hundreds of hours in kitchens, unrecognized. Thousands of dollars spent, unreimbursed. And not once was I the one celebrated in these albums you guard so tightly. My mother's smile froze. She glanced down at the list, then back up at me. We appreciate everything you do. I cut her off. No, you appreciate everything I provide. There's a difference. The cafe grew quiet around us. I could feel other patrons glancing over, sensing the charge in the air. And in that silence, I said what I had been too afraid to say for decades. For as long as I can remember, I've been the one carrying the weight. The servant, the machine. Even when I walked away, even when I tried to build a life outside of this family, the role followed me, because I allowed it to, because I believed that being useful was the same as being loved. My throat tightened, but I didn't stop. But I'm done being the one who always absorbs the blow, the one who sacrifices, the one who swallows her words while everyone else raises their glass. I am not the background character in my own story anymore. And if that means the holiday machine breaks down, so be it. Her hands trembled as she tried to close the album. Sloan, don't be dramatic. Dramatic? My voice echoed louder than I expected. Dramatic is working 2 jobs and still being told I'm irresponsible, while you hand Evan a down payment for a beach house. Dramatic as being erased from 30 years of photos while you gush about his promotions. Dramatic is treating your daughter like staff and calling it tradition. Her face drained of color. She looked down at her untouched coffee, then back at me, her lips parting as if to argue. But no words came. For the first time in my life, my mother had nothing to say. I leaned forward, lowering my voice, but sharpening the edge. Here are my terms. If I join Christmas, everyone cooks, everyone cleans, and there will be a photo of me at that table, not serving, not clearing plates, but eating. If those terms aren't acceptable, then I won't be there at all. Her mouth opened, then closed again. She reached for her phone under the table, her fingers trembling as she typed. A minute later, my own phone buzzed. A message from Evan lit up the screen. Mom says we might need a backup plan. I looked up. My mother's eyes flickered with guilt, fear, maybe even desperation. And I realized the battle was only beginning. I booked the Islamorada trip on a Wednesday evening. The oceanfront hotel confirmation glowing on my laptop screen like a promise. 3 nights by turquoise water, away from the clatter of silverware and the weight of expectations. For the first time in years, I had something to look forward to that wasn't tied to the family calendar. But peace never lasts long in my world. The next morning, an email arrived from the catering company in Clearwater. Order confirmed for Christmas Eve delivery. Payment pending final processing. My eyes narrowed. I hadn't placed an order. I scrolled down, and there it was. The payment card on file. Not Evan's, not my parents', mine. My chest burned. They had tried to use the same card I'd already disputed. They had the audacity to assume I would fund their plan B after I'd made it clear I was stepping back. I dialed the catering company immediately. "Cancel the order," I said, my voice tight but controlled. "Ma'am, we have a non-refundable policy." "I'm the card holder," I cut in. "This order was placed without my consent. If you charge me 1 cent, you'll be hearing from my attorney." There was a pause, the kind of silence that meant my words had landed. The representative cleared her throat. "We'll remove the order from our system. You'll receive confirmation shortly." When the email arrived minutes later, I forwarded it straight to Evan and Mom with a single line. "Do not use my financial information again." Within seconds, Evan responded. "Why would you do that? We had everything set up. Now you're sabotaging Christmas." Sabotaging. That word stuck to my ribs like a splinter. Was it sabotage to refuse being exploited? Or was it the first act of self-respect I dared to take? That night, Jessica stopped by my apartment with Thai takeout. She noticed the storm cloud on my face before I said a word. "They tried to run catering through my card," I told her, pushing the receipt across the table. Her eyebrows shot up. "Unbelievable. Sloan, listen to me. You can give them another chance if you want, but only on your terms, not theirs. This is the moment you decide. Are you going to let them write the script again, or are you finally going to write your own?" Her words sank deep. All my life, I had confused obedience with love. But love without respect isn't love. It's leverage. I thought back to the café, the way Mom's fingers had trembled on that photo album. For a second, I almost softened. Maybe they could change. Maybe boundaries could exist. But then, I remembered the bold black marker on that whiteboard. Sloan handles everything. To them, I wasn't a daughter. I was infrastructure. So I opened my laptop and began drafting an email. No apologies, no explanations, just clarity. If you want me at Christmas, these are my conditions. Shared cooking, shared cleanup, and equal acknowledgement. If not, I won't be there. I read it aloud, my voice shaking at first, then steadying. It felt like standing on a stage, declaring a truth I'd hidden for decades, Before I hit send, my phone buzzed again. Group chat. Mom this time. Family. Don't panic. We'll figure this out. Sloan is just stressed. Just stressed. My rebellion, my exhaustion, my plea for dignity, reduced to nerves. I set the phone down, staring at the words until they blurred. My entire life had been filtered through that lens. Sloan's tired, Sloan's moody, Sloan's just overreacting. It was easier to dismiss me than to see me. My finger hovered over the send button on my email draft. Part of me longed for the relief of finality, to state my terms and let the chips fall. Another part whispered that maybe, just maybe, I should give them one last chance to prove they valued me without conditions. I closed my eyes, hearing Jessica's voice in my head. Only on your terms. The cursor blinked. My breath slowed. I clicked send. Seconds later, my phone lit up with notifications from the group chat. Evan's message came first. If Sloan won't help, Christmas is ruined. Aunt Sarah chimed in. You can't just walk away from family. And then Mom's voice memo appeared. 30 seconds long, waiting to be played. My thumb hovered over it. I knew that once I pressed play, there would be no going back. Christmas Eve dawned with a gray Florida sky, heavy clouds pressing low over Clearwater Beach. My phone buzzed before I'd even had coffee. A barrage of messages from the family group chat. Mom's cheerful reminders about timing. Dad's brief, don't be late. Evan's confident, all caps, guests arrive at 3. Don't mess this up. I set the phone face down on my counter. This time, I wasn't driving across the bridge with casseroles balanced on the back seat. I wasn't arriving early to iron tablecloths and polish silver. Instead, my suitcase sat by the door, packed for Islamorada, sundresses, sandals, and nothing resembling an apron. For decades, I had been the one filling the empty chairs at the table with food, effort, and invisible labor. This year, I left one empty. Mine. By noon, the silence from my end must have become deafening. Evan finally called, his voice tight with irritation. Where are you? Guests are already here. I told you, I said evenly. I won't be there under the old rules. There was a beat of silence. Then his voice cracked, shrill. You're ruining everything. Do you realize how important tonight is for me? For my clients? And then, in the background, I heard chaos. Voices rising, footsteps scrambling, a door slamming. Evan cursed. The oven just shut off. The turkey isn't even cooked. The irony nearly made me laugh. For years, they'd said I was replaceable. Just the help, just the machine. And yet here they were, paralyzed without me. Good luck with dinner, I said softly, and ended the call. I pulled into the highway southbound, the ocean stretching wider with each passing mile. My phone buzzed again, photos flooding in from cousins and aunts, guests milling in Evan's living room, awkward smiles masking confusion, trays of half-prepared dishes abandoned on the counter. The so-called perfect holiday unraveling in real time. As the miles rolled by, a strange calm washed over me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't racing to fix someone else's mess. I wasn't the firefighter dousing every flame. I wasn't the servant keeping the feast alive. I was simply me. And yet, in that freedom, I also felt the ache of years wasted. 33 years of biting my tongue, scrubbing pans at midnight, smiling through tears. Why did it take so long? The thought hit me like a weight. Some people draw the line at 12, at 20, at 30. For me, it took a lifetime of exhaustion to discover I had a choice. That realization broke something open. I wasn't ruined by those years. I was forged by them. Every sleepless night, every unspoken word, every invisible hour had built the woman now driving toward the Keys, with her head held high. By the time I checked into the small oceanfront inn in Islamorada, The air smelled of salt and hibiscus. Jessica and Theo were already waiting on the deck, drinks in hand. They cheered when they saw me. "You made it," Jessica said, handing me a glass. "I made it," I echoed. And for the first time, I meant more than just arriving at a destination. We spent the evening barefoot in the sand, music playing from someone's speaker, waves breaking softly in the dark. At one point, Theo raised his cup toward me. To Sloane, finally living her own story. The words caught in my chest, living my own story, after decades of being a footnote in someone else's. I smiled, letting the laughter and sea air wash through me like medicine. But even as I breathed in that freedom, my phone buzzed again. Evan, video call. Against my better judgment, I answered. The screen lit up with chaos. A half-raw turkey pulled from the oven, gravy spilled across the counter, guests whispering awkwardly in the background. Evan's face was red with panic. "This is a disaster. Do you hear me? A disaster. Tell me what to do." I stared at him through the screen. For once, I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel guilt. I felt steady. "You'll figure it out," I said, and ended the call. Minutes later, a new name appeared on my phone. My father, the man who had rarely called me directly in years. His message was short. "Tell me your conditions. Let's talk." I set the phone down on the nightstand. The ocean breeze ruffling the curtains. The machine had broken. My absence had spoken louder than any dish I'd ever cooked. And now, for the first time, they wanted to hear my terms. Christmas morning in Islamorada felt unreal. I woke to sunlight pouring across turquoise water. The kind of morning that didn't demand anything from me. No alarms at 5 a.m., no oven timers, no lists taped to the fridge. Just silence, just breath. Jessica knocked on my door, a playful grin on her face. "Strange, I don't smell turkey." I laughed. "This year, I'm not the chef. I'm just me." At brunch by the water, the table was imperfect. Plastic chairs, paper napkins, chipped mugs. But for the first time in decades, I was free. No one expected me to refill glasses. No one hovered with demands. When the waiter asked who wanted to order first, Jessica pointed at me. Her turn. I ordered the seafood platter without hesitation. My chest lifted. To choose for myself, without calculating everyone else's preferences, felt revolutionary. Halfway through, my phone buzzed. Against my better judgment, I looked. A photo from Aunt Lila. Evan's dining room, normally staged like a magazine spread, looked like a war zone. Guests sat stiffly around the table, balancing styrofoam takeout boxes. The chandelier glittered above trays of soggy stuffing and pale mashed potatoes. My mother's frozen smile could barely hide the cracks. Under the photo, Aunt Lila wrote, "Tradition doesn't look so glamorous without you, does it?" I stared, stunned. For years, they insisted I was replaceable, invisible, a background character. And yet, one empty chair, mine, had broken the entire illusion. Jessica leaned over my shoulder and snorted. "If Evan can't cook, maybe your mom should. Isn't that what mothers do?" Her words pierced deeper than she realized. Because it was true. My mother had every skill, every resource. She could have roasted a turkey herself. She could have stepped in. But she didn't. She had always chosen the easier path. Assign everything to me. It wasn't that I was the only one capable. It was that I was the only one she was willing to sacrifice. The realization hit like a wave. The machine hadn't existed because of me. It had existed because my mother let it. Because she preferred convenience to fairness. Because Evan was the priority, and I was the labor. I set the phone down, my stomach tight. Around me, the air was alive with laughter. Clinking glasses, waves breaking against the shore. I smiled for photos, sparkler in hand, centered for once in the frame. When I looked later, I saw joy in my own face. a sight I'd rarely recognized. But then another message came. This time, not from Evan, not from Mom, from Dad. Tomorrow. Coffee. Your terms. I stared at the screen, the ocean breeze lifting my hair. For years, he had been silent, letting Mom speak, letting Evan shine. Now, for the first time, he wanted to hear me. I put the phone down, heart steady. Tomorrow, the final confrontation would come, and this time, I wouldn't be the servant. The next morning, I walked into the café early, the air thick with roasted beans and holiday chatter. My father was already there, sitting at a corner table. He looked older than I remembered, his hands wrapped around a cup of black coffee, his eyes searching mine, as if he wasn't quite sure how to begin. I slid into the chair across from him. For years, he'd left the talking to Mom. For years, I'd been an echo, never the voice. But today, it was different. Your mother told me you might not come back, he said, finally. His voice was careful, as though each word carried more weight than he could manage. I won't come back under the old rules, I answered. My tone surprised even me. Calm, firm, unshaken. He shifted, uncomfortable. Family means compromise. No, I said, leaning forward. Family means respect. Compromise only works if it's balanced. For decades, I gave everything. Time, money, labor. And what did I get? Silence. A seat at the table only if my hands were busy serving. He exhaled, shoulders slumping. For the first time in my life, I saw something break in him. Not authority, not pride, but recognition. What would it take? He asked softly. The question hung between us. The one I'd been waiting to hear my entire life. My terms are simple, I said. If I'm at Christmas, everyone cooks, everyone cleans. No one gets to assign me a list and call it love. And if I sit at that table, there will be proof that I was more than the help. Photos of me eating, laughing, living, not blurred in the background. He nodded slowly. That seems fair. For years, I had begged for crumbs of acknowledgement. Now I saw the power of stating my worth out loud. Not a plea, not a hope, a boundary. Christmas came. Not at Evan's mansion, but in my small condo in St. Pete. The table wasn't perfect. Mismatched plates, a centerpiece of seashells I'd collected with Jessica. Laughter that spilled louder than the music. Theo mashed potatoes at the counter. Aunt Lila set out her famous lemon pie. And when my parents walked in, they didn't bring demands. They brought groceries and rolled up sleeves. Mom tried at first to slip into her old rhythm, hovering near me with a list. But when she reached for the spoon, Jessica stepped in, smiling brightly. We're all taking turns here. And just like that, the balance shifted. For the first time, I sat through an entire meal without jumping up to refill a glass. For the first time, someone asked me if I wanted seconds. For the first time, a photo captured me in the middle of the frame, laughing, not carrying a dish. After dessert, Dad raised his glass. His voice cracked, but his words were clear. To Sloan, for reminding us that family doesn't mean service. It means standing together. I swallowed hard. 33 years it had taken to hear something that simple. And yet, it was enough to start. As the night wound down, I walked my parents to the door. Mom hesitated, her hand brushing mine. I don't know if I can change overnight, she whispered. You don't have to, I replied. You just have to stop treating me like I never mattered. Her eyes shimmered, and for once, she didn't argue. That night, after the dishes were stacked and the laughter still echoed through my home, I sat quietly with Jessica. She raised an eyebrow. So, what now? I looked around the room, at the mismatched plates and the imperfect table, at the photo of me finally centered on the wall. And I knew. What now, I said, is living my life chosen, not assigned, because here's the truth. When betrayal breaks you, you can either keep begging for scraps, or you can build a table where respect is the first dish served. Love without boundaries isn't love, it's servitude. And the day I said no, I finally said yes to myself.